Well, welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. Gonna do a little whiskey tasting here. And this one, as per the thumbnail, is a little bit D&D and a little bit Star Frontiers. What the heck am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Chivas Regal? Is that how you pronounce this particular brand of whiskey? It's been around forever, and I've never known the correct way to say it, and the reason that I bring it up as like a potential Star Frontiers thing will be clear momentarily, but that's just definitely D&D related. Let me swing the sword around. So, Chivas Regal is a well-known Scotch that has been around for a long time, and it's actually the box that I have here. This is the modern box. But I have always known it. It's got a few, like, you know, there's a castle, a couple of crossed things, swords, and I thought there was also a helmet. Maybe on the bottom? No. Regardless, this is the modern packaging, and I'd been looking for the longest time for the 80s one, because when we played D&D, my DM of the time, his dad, I think, enjoyed Chivas Regal, and he gave our DM the metal box that his bottle came in, and that metal box, because it's got armor and swords and castles and stuff on it, our DM decided to use that to hold all his pens, all of his dice, all of his bits and pieces, and I just thought, oh wow, that's really cool. It's a D&D related box. It's like, no, it's actually for holding a whiskey bottle. So for me, Chivas was always a D&D kind of connection. That's why I've got the chainmail on. Similarly, I never really knew how to pronounce C-H-I-V-A-S, and Chivas doesn't sound Scottish, but it is. Apparently it's the brothers that formed the distillery that founded the brand are the brothers Chivas, C-H-I-V-A-S. See, to me, that would be pronounced Chivas, like rhyming with divas, and the CH, chi, sort of a sound. So to me, I'd always thought this was Chivas Regal, and I've always called it Chivas Regal anytime I see it in the liquor store, anytime I talk to somebody, it's like, oh yeah, Chivas Regal. Now, for people who've been watching my Star Frontiers videos, you'll remember when I talked about the Bubba campaign, how he went and did a bunch of variety of adventures on different planets, one of which was Outer Reach, which was kind of this nasty Mad Max world, and he ran into a character played by my brother called Chivas. Now, I think he spelled it C-H-E-E-V-A-S, but anytime I saw Chivas Regal whiskey, I just always thought of Star Frontiers. So this whiskey has a D&D and a Star Frontiers connection for me personally, probably nobody else watching. But I thought, yeah, it's let me try this out. And you may have noticed when I did my little C-3PO video recently, my Stormtrooper bottle of whiskey that I use in my Star Wars videos, it's getting a little low, so I think I need to restock the supply. And Chivas, and I'm going to call it Chivas, even though that's wrong, this will be a nice resupplier. So let's check it out. Let's see. Unfortunately, again, I don't have that metal box. I'd love to get that metal box. I see them on eBay all the time. I might pick one up. We'll see. There is the Chivas Regal 12-year age statement, blended Scotch whiskey, 1801. There you go. Established 1801 by the Chivas brothers. Oh, there's something written on the back here. James and John Chivas. And there's a whole little story back there. So yes, I thought to myself, again, another D&D connection with whiskey. It's weird how my friends and I had all this whiskey connection with D&D. We never really thought about it. I did a video several years ago about, I tried I tried out Crown Royal, which came in a velvet bag. We always use the velvet bag to carry our D&D dice around in. So I tried Crown Royal as part of that video, and I thought, you know, since I'm so used to Chivas, and I'm going to call it Chivas, being from that metal box that my DM always carried around, I want to actually try out Chivas whiskey. So let's give this a shot. Going to break the seal. Now, the measure of any good whiskey is, how does it sound to uncork for the first time? Oh man, it doesn't have a cork, it's got a screw top? Well, so does Johnny Walker, so okay. That's a point against it, though. Interesting bouquet. Let's try the Chivas Regal. I know I'm calling it wrong. I know it's Chivas. It's always been Chivas to me. I'm going to screw that top back on. I don't know about that. Very strong color. I'll bet it's got color added to it, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it's gold lettering on a black or a dark burgundy kind of a background, so I can't read that thing what it means, but I'll bet you there's color added to this. 12 years, not too bad. Let's at least take a little sniff. I probably need to let it open up for a minute. I do know a lot of people are probably yelling at the fact I don't have a Glencairn glass. I just use regular tumblers. The vast majority, if I'm going to have whiskey of my own choosing, I use my Blade Runner glass. Boy, I'm really mixing up all the intellectual property, aren't I? Blade Runner, Star Wars, D&D, Starfighter. Anyway, I've got a Blade Runner glass that I normally drink my whiskey out of for, Blade Runner's sake. And I don't have a Glencairn. Maybe I'll pick one up, and that would probably help me get the nose a lot better, because certainly the Blade Runner glass is not good for that. However, let's at least see. I've been able to with other drinks I've had. Man, that is a very, very light smell, if anything. What does that speak to as far as the taste is concerned? Because I would have thought this thing would have... You know what? I did really enjoy the JP Weisers that I had, and that was also practically no aroma coming off it, but it was a very subtle, very faint kind of a smell and taste, but it was really good. Maybe Chivas is going to impress me similarly. Let's find out. I think it's had enough time. Any more smell? I mean, there's the usual hints of like cinnamon and honey and a little bit of like citrus to there, but nothing that really stands out compared to everything else I've ever tried. Maybe a little bit of nutmeg, maybe, but it's incredibly faint. No. All right. Well, bottoms up. Let's try out. I have never had Chivas. I'm looking forward to trying this out. Cheers. It's nice. It's not very strong. But the good thing is it's not very rough. It's quite smooth. Very similar to a Johnny Walker, to be honest. And I think they're both owned by Bellagio, so maybe that's the thing. I'm sure the distillers at the Chivas distillery are yelling at me for saying that. Oh no, sorry. It's a blended Scotch whiskey, so it doesn't have a distillery. The people who are putting together this blend are probably angry at me for saying that it's a lot like Johnny Walker, but whereas Johnny Walker has more of an orange peel, immediate strike to it, this is a little more... If Johnny Walker has all of these flavors, among which is like an orange peel element, this has all of the other kinds of flavor profiles to it, but instead of the orange peel, I would put a little bit of plum, almost raisin, on this one. It's very smooth. It goes down very nicely. It's got more potency to it than, say, for example, the JP Weisers. I'd put it on par with that Gold Bar whiskey I had a little while ago. It's nice, very pleasant, but the Gold Bar has like a real impact when you drink it. It's very present and what's the word I'm looking for? There's a shock, not a shock value, but like a real punch to it. This doesn't have the punch. This is more like JP Weisers, almost Johnny Walker. I think Johnny Walker's a little stronger. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. As I found with the JP Weisers, I could drink that stuff like Kool-Aid, and that would really do me well in some kind of a party situation. I'd be floating along real fast. I think I'm going to like this. I do have to polish off the last of the Talisker, which is sitting in the Stormtrooper whiskey bottle currently, and I think the next 2 videos will probably drain that. Give it a clean up, and then I think Chivas Regal is going to go in its place because there's a sci-fi connection. It's from Star Frontiers, or at least my campaign of Star Frontiers. Very nice. Glad to have finally tried out Chivas Regal. Yeah, that's good stuff. I like it. Chivas Regal, it's both D&D and Star Frontiers. And Star Wars and Blade Runner and everything else I've mentioned on this. And heck, if I brought up George Dickel somehow, I'd be getting the Star Trek connection. Anyway, gonna stop there. So, until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole. Cheers.